Hello everybody, welcome back to Alternate History. Whoa, this is not the map we left up on, is it? What in the... Why are there so many Chinese Why is there two Chinas? What in the... Why are there new countries over here? What is this new layer called alliances? The red team is in an alliance with its old colony and the brown team? What happened? Well, it all can be explained with a few simple words. I lost the recordings. In case you didn't know, the past videos have been pre-recorded. And unfortunately, I lost those recordings. Which means that we lost a bunch of history, but fortunately, I can kind of barely remember it slightly. So, what happened? First of all, I figured out how to fix the whole issue. It was not with the internet. So in case you guys don't know, for the longest time, I've been plagued with the issue where if I'm invading a country or I'm doing something with a country, it's not doing it right now. Here it is. Usually whenever I'm doing something with a country and they have similar colors, the colors will overlap. I have solved this. It was a problem on my part. It is now fixed. So that is very nice. And two, what happened? First of all, we're not going to dare get into the mess that is the Americas, because that is its own series by itself. But what happened? So, for starters, just come over to the blue team. They faced a civil war up north. They lost some more Balkan lands. That's a shame on them. So what they did was they tried to expand this way, but they were quickly cut off by the blue country. I'm pretty sure the brown nation went a little bit... I'm gonna fix the color, I don't like lime. And also this isn't the brown nation, this is Cyprus nation. Which, by the way, Cyprus is an insane power. So the Cyprus nation went out and conquered this way, but instability plagued them, and eventually they released these two new countries. Down south, we can see so let's go back a little bit. If we go back, we'll find that this pink country this southern pink country used to rule over this country right here. But what happened? Why are they separate again? Well, after unifying in order to boost their economies, both the countries' economies are boosted, obviously, and so they agreed to split apart as they no longer needed to rely on each other for stuff like that. We watched as more Northern African exploration was done, as this new country forms. I think this is like, what's it? It's the rival country to Rome, but I don't remember its name, which is annoying. And this city-state over here, decides to no longer be a city-state as it expands up this. This is not the color I wanted. It expands up this way. As Italy expands a little bit this way. Whoa. However, they're quickly cut off as an Iberian country comes along. They go up north, they form a bunch of new provinces, and also from there the Iberian country gets cut off by this Catalonian country over here. I would say they're on neutral relations, but I think there may be some tensions, as I would not be surprised if the Catharian country would want to take, obviously, the rest of the Iberian Peninsula, which would be up to here, maybe. I think that's land that they would want. I don't know if it would escalate into a future war. Exploration into France is done, as is exploration into the European plain up here, up into Germany, surrounding the Alps over here. So modern day Switzerland, parts of Austria, Liechtenstein, they're not yet discovered. Everything around the Caspian Sea is discovered, which is nice. And over here, China, they became kind of a mess. So you see here, what happened was they went through some insane instability. Like, it's crazy how unstable they got. So what happened was, with the instability, they separated themselves into bigger provinces. The only country that would follow in similar footsteps is this Iberian, the two Iberian countries with these provinces over here. Those are the only other countries, but it's not as bad as this guy. The provinces are terrible, and in the end, they're unable to stay together, and they lose this southern bit down here. So that might be pretty annoying. But yeah, that's a small recap of what's happened over here. Wait, what do you mean this is called episode 7 of alternate history? I'm not going to do no. The red country will start off with a very bad day, and I do mean very bad, as rebels over near this old city-state country, they begin to break off, forming a brand new, what the? That is strange. Alright, so now that that's hopefully fixed, we can go back to the breaking part of the light red nation here in the Balkans, because obviously the Balkans love having themselves some wars. So this old light blue country, it comes back, and it's going to be funded by some unknown people, but the red team, after sending some spies in the country, figure out quickly who it is. It's the Blue Nation. However, obviously, it's the Blue Nation. What can they do? Like, the Blue Nation is fairly weak. What the? The Light Blue Nation has an insane campaign against Light Red Team, taking over their southern bits and their entire western section, until eventually their entire capital city is surrounded, and eventually they lose it. In a peace treaty, the Light Blue Nation gets its independence once again. At last, they are back on that beautiful, beautiful world map. Their capital will go on this major city down here. And just like that, we have a brand new nation on our world map. Now Cyprus. Cyprus is a pretty good nation. They have one of the greatest empires out of all the countries. They span up here to these islands. They span over here into Arabia, Middle East, this colony, and for a point they even expanded all the way over here until obviously they lost these, which makes sense, you know? These guys are too far away from tiny little Cyprus. They're like the British Empire of the early ages of the series. But going back to how they got the islands over here, Cyprus got the islands all up here from a war against the Blue Nation. And so the Blue Nation is going to be like really annoyed at this, but in the peace treaty it says that Cyprus, after a certain time, will give them back. And that time is now. So the Blue Nation regains all of its islands at long last, except for Cyprus. They are unable to. They're unable to regain Cyprus, unfortunately. The old provinces will be united with these other provinces up here to create some much cleaner looking provinces, or province map, which splits the islands right down the middle. So everything on this side goes to this province, everything on this side goes to this province. So for once in the blue team's life, they're actually looking pretty good. See this guy? This guy is the light purple nation. And they are very silly because they see everything outlined in purple here to be theirs, but that is obviously just not true. So obviously, when that's the case, they're going to try and invade someone to finally gain these claims. And the first country they're going to invade is the purple country. They're pretty chill on Crimea, but now an invasion begins as they go into the Crimean Peninsula, take the little enclave over here, and begin to take the coastline. What they will quickly find is that Crimea hasn't been getting into many wars, and maybe that's a good reason, as they're quick to push back up their forces and begin to take the capital, taking it successfully. They make a naval landing in this area next to the Crimea and begin another amazing campaign to take these lands from the light blue nation. Until eventually this sea right here that I don't know the name of is finally taken, and they continue to snake it up this little area that the light purple nation has, like a little tail of sorts. And eventually, the light purple nation will surrender. In a peace treaty, Crimea will expand this way, gaining this new land. During the peace treaty, there was actually a small disagreement between Crimea's leaders on whether or not they should just have the light purple nation be punished, which, by the way, they no longer have their claims over this land. There was also disagreement on if they should take more land or not. In the end, they decided to take only that and just have them get rid of the claims. So, the light purple nation will be allowed to live on for now. You know what's a bit disappointing though? That there hasn't been much explanation happening. Like, look, this entire episode, there hasn't been much explanation, even though borders have changed. So let's do some exploring, shall we? A large group of people come here up north to discover more parts of modern-day Germany and Poland, discovering most of what was once East Germany, until eventually going into Bavaria and western German parts. They go up north to discover Denmark, and are also quick to find the islands nearby it. They also make a landing in Scandinavia, in southern Sweden, where their exploration group will stop for now. They will head home after discovering a few other islands, heading back south to the country they came from. Meanwhile, other scouts come up here, this north, or along France's ocean border, and go into modern-day Belgium and the Netherlands, discovering large parts of the coastline, until discovering more of the coastline linking up to the new German explored lands, leaving this nice encircled area right here. they explore a little land over this way. But after exploring some more Belgium and Netherlands areas, they will finally end their exploration with this giant blob here in the center of the map, which I hate. China. Oh, poor China. You guys just can't seem to get a break, can you? First the Civil War, and now this? What do I mean by this? Well, I mean the fact that China is now having a border issue. You see here, whenever I have a border dispute that's like really big, give me a second to check something. As I was saying, whenever there's a border dispute that'll last multiple episodes and will be very important, I outline it. For example, the Light Purple Nation's border dispute with a bunch of other people. That wasn't technically a border dispute. It also wasn't that big, because that's what they believed they had. They knew they didn't control it. But this is how border disputes are going to work. If a country claims another country's land, it will be outlined in these dash marks. However, the claims themselves will be filled in with the country that actually controls the land. Like, for example, the Chinese country controls the lands in this border dispute, therefore they're colored in the Chinese countries, but the Chinese Civil War group, they claim these lands. Which, by the way, I don't know what I call them. South China? No. I'll think of a name eventually. Oh, also. Alright, now that Taiwan's fixed, we can go back to this. This border dispute is going to be pretty big, so keep an eye on it, because it will be very impactful as the series continues. See these guys over here? These guys are pretty chill. Right now, they're not part of any alliances, but that's about to change, because now they're all part of a brand new alliance. This is a military alliance, obviously. Attack one, again, obvious. And their goals are actually to get the Cyprus country in on this, however, because two of them at least originate from the Cyprus country, and it's also to defend themselves against the blue country, because for the longest time, all of them thought the blue country would be like an easy to defeat country. Like, whenever they expand, they almost always fall into a civil war. Just look at over here. They try to gain this lands. These all civil warred away from them. The Cyprus nation, little Cyprus, beat them in a war. They got all the islands over here. They once tried to expand all the way up north. They got the light blue nation, which obviously just lost this Crimean nation. They expanded over here. They tried to at least, and they lost this lightish blue nation. Semi-light. I'm just gonna call it the sky blue nation. They lost the sky blue nation. So they thought, like, hey, we can take it in 1v1. But look over here, the light blue nation. This guy steamrolled the light red nation, which could, oh, why don't you have a capital city? This light blue nation, which was dead for multiple episodes, suddenly came back, and because of the blue team, won. And this light red nation, it could have beaten some of the strongest countries. It could have beaten like Italy. It probably could have beaten the orange country, the pink country. But now it can't, because the blue nation helped fund the light blue nation. What does that mean? It means the blue nation has capability. And if they get underneath the right leaders, they could become the strongest nation. Which, by the way, real quick, if you guys want me to make like a completely different layer for ranking of countries, let me know in the comments if comments aren't disabled. If not, join the Discord and let me know. I need to know these things. Anyways, back to the video. They're like, yo, this blue nation is actually pretty strong. So they're going to band together in this little alliance. They're hoping to expand to Cyprus, hoping to maybe expand the light blue nation. They're hoping to expand their alliance because now they see the blue nation as an incapable threat. But if it ever got capable, it would be the end of these countries. And they're currently, in their current state, they are no way strong enough to fight the blue nation. They would lose, even combined. So their goal is to expand to make sure that the blue nation doesn't reach this full potential that they've just shown to the world. A small group of explorers decide to come over this way because they are not getting paid, because not as many people want to explore. They're happy where they are now. So they come over this way, they explore a little bit, and oh, they find a completely new lake. They actually didn't know this lake before. This is a welcome discovery. But unfortunately, shortly afterwards, they do some more investigating and find it's pretty hot. It's basically a desert, so they go back, they record their findings, and then they head home. What this does do is it opens the paveway for a new navigation route going this way, which could lead to a possible faster route from countries like the Sky Blue, the Blue Nation, or the Light Purple Nation to come all the way over this way down into Korea and then down to China, which would be a lot more effective than obviously going down this way. You know, you have to follow into the Red Orange Nation. You have to follow the trade route along the coast, down south, take the deviated path through the entire country, around the entire Arabian Peninsula, through the Brown Nation, through the unclaimed lands, through this Olive Nation, through the Civil War group, through pretty dangerous areas, and then into China. So obviously one route is better than the other, so people are going to see this as a welcome discovery. Some other welcome discoveries will take place here in Africa, as some people go down south to discover parts of modern-day Ethiopia. This discovery team is deemed a success as they discover large parts of Ethiopia, discovering it's pretty mountainous. They also go along the coast of They also follow down into the coast of Africa to discover more parts of countries such as Tanzania, Kenya, etc., etc. Again, this discovery group is seen as fairly successful. The Dark Red Nation. They are currently pretty peaceful with the Orange Nation up here. The Pink Nation has been trying to get on and get ties with them, but that's very difficult considering the fact that the Orange Nation and the Pink Nation despised each other, thanks to things such as this small border dispute over here. For the Orange Nation claims everything in the white, but the Pink Nation also claims it and also controls it, so that's not that big of an issue. It could be resolved pretty quickly, but still, that's an issue nonetheless. So what's going to happen when the Pink Nation suddenly comes up here and invades into the Dark Red Nation? Well, obviously, the Orange Nation will respond. They will send troops into the Dark Red Nation before they surrender, liberating the country, only to have their forces be pushed right back to the capital and then to be directly involved as they begin a quick invasion. Actually, I'm going to do something a little different with this, because this is going to be a pretty good invasion. So those are pink occupied lands. The Red Nation comes down, they claim their border disputed area, and then some more. And I mean a lot more. So once again, these nations are at it. I'm not surprised. The Dark Red Nation, my bad, continues to make some small pushbacks to give ease to their capital city. Down south, the Pink Country is pushing against the Orange Country's forces. Eventually, a new country will get involved, a country that has actually never been in a war. The Dark Orange Country over here. They are pretty friendly with the Orange Country. They're actually related by blood. Their descendants are the same. The only reason the Dark Orange Country is its own separate country is because they didn't agree with the current leader of the Orange Country, so they left temporarily. The idea is that one day they were going to unify, but this is long past. They have now separated themselves. They have their own culture, their own religion. But otherwise, they're pretty similar. So they will help the Orange Nation by going down south and sending forces in, and pretty quickly, the reinforcements sent will boost the Orange Country's army, sending them right into the Pink team and taking this piece of land I have hated for so long. I just hate how both these countries look. They look terrible on the map. The Pink Nation will do one last attempt to take over the capital of the Dark Red Nation, but in the end this will all be in vain as they are pushed quickly right back out. They do one last push in, which doesn't go that well, before going down south, taking their army to try and push back the Orange Country's armies. And then something insane happens, something no one expected. The Red Country sends troops along the coast of the Orange Country right towards their capital. They send troops right into the Pink Country, following the border with this new country that last episode broke away from the Red Nation, again going towards the Pink's capital. The Orange Nation almost entirely leaves the region, except for the areas they claim to be rightfully theirs. The Pink Nation holds out. The Red Nation has joined the war. And quickly, their neighbors are going to seek a peace deal. So, let's see how a peace deal goes. In a peace treaty, the Orange Country gains the lands it claimed, and the Dark Red Nation is turned into a city-state. But the Red Nation, what did they gain out of this? They didn't gain anything, right? No, they did gain something. As the Orange Country and the Pink Country are forced into their military alliance. But not only that, the two countries are forced into themselves regimes, governments that heavily favor the Red Country in all of their ideals, no matter how insane they are. Such as not allowing this trade route to go through their country, despite the fact that it is such a good idea. It would boost all of their economies. It would help Africa. But no, it doesn't want that. So the Red Country, despite having a seemingly unimportant change, has actually completely changed this region of Africa. It's likely that wars will, for once, stop. There will be peace between these countries, except for this new guy right here, which, by the way, I'm still thinking of a name. I'm thinking the Red Purple Country, but that's such a bad name, so I'll continue thinking. I think we call it Sudan, actually. I'm gonna call it the Sudanese country, but I'll probably forget that. So the Sudanese country is like the only country that's not yet influenced by the Red Country. The Dark Red Country, remember, they have been influenced by the Red Country. Whoa. they have been influenced by the Red Country many times. So they don't have to be influenced anymore. Besides, they were already part of this alliance that the Red Team was in. Or at least secretly they were. But now, as the war ends, it becomes official. They permanently join this economical alliance, which I cannot show. Actually, I can't show it like that. The Dark Red Nation joins the Red Nation's military alliance. All these countries are under the Red Country's influence now. Their influence now looks something like this in the black line. It's huge. Or at least bigger compared to other countries, at least. Except for China, but they don't really count. They have this entire area up to themselves. They control all of that. But that, my friends, is actually where we leave it off. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to give it a like. And also, if comments are turned on, I know sometimes YouTube turns them off, but if they are turned on, give your own suggestions, and also your own theories, and also feedback. What do you think is going to happen? What do you want to happen? What can I change in the series? And with that, I'll see you guys all in episode 8. Peace. See ya.